So one of the things I'm always trying to get a lot of my students to do is improve the rotation through the ball. And to sort of oversimplify it, the better that you can rotate through the ball, the less you have to use your hands. And one of the best sort of practice routines for this is literally the hold off drill. So the idea is that basically you're not going to swing the club. Well, you're going to try and stop the club from sort of going, should we say, past this sort of point in the golf swing here. And the concept is that you're going to try and keep your arms straight and keep the club shaft straight, so it's sort of parallel towards the ground as I'm demonstrating. And I think this is a good feeling. So I'm going to kind of hit a few shots just slowly first as I sort of do this drill. Okay, like so. And some of the contacts will sound better than others, especially whilst I'm talking to you and slightly distracted. But I think the reason why is that there's a bit of misconception when it comes around things like, forearm rotation and squaring the face. And definitely one of the things that has to happen is we need forearm rotation coming in towards a sort of late downswing towards impact to square the face. But then as we go in towards the through swing, you don't need actually as much face rotation. A lot of it's dependent on your pivot. So I think, again, this is a good drill. And as I try and hit a couple of shots here, more like so. So you can kind of see there's definitely going to be a bit of this in there, and then I'm sort of trying to recoil it back. But the idea is that you're going to try and hit a few shots quite competently, like so. Now, what you should notice when you do this drill is a couple of things. One, obviously you're going to lose distance. That's inevitable. Two, it should feel like it's going to encourage you to rotate better through the golf ball, right, like so. And three, there's a very likelihood, or personally speaking, and I also know for a lot of my students, that you'll kind of be maybe a bit vulnerable of leaving the club face too open. And like I say, the general association to that is, oh, okay, well, I need to do more of this. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just the case that you need to square the club face coming in towards the late downswing, and then you can notice the ball will go travelling a lot straighter. Now, admittedly, I know you guys can't see the ball flight in these, but again, I'm just trying to show how the drill would be applied. The other reason why I like this drill is because one of the things that's really important in the golf swing is that you understand the importance of tilt and how to sort of rotate around the tilt. And that's probably something that I do preach to a lot of my students, because if you can understand the concept of sort of rotating around a tilt, holistically, you'll find it much easier to hit, short, mid, long irons, etc., and obviously driver. And for golfers that get a little ahead of the ball like this, all of a sudden, what you're going to find is this drill is going to seem like a mammoth task, because it's going to stop your swing really short. Because obviously, if you go this way, your tendency is going to be to lift that club up this way. Whilst obviously, if you keep your arms back, you're going to need more thoracic extension and more sort of a thrusting motion to keep that club moving through. So I personally just think it's a really good drill. What you guys need to bear in mind, and this is something that I will talk about in more detail on the channel upcoming, is sticking to something like this sort of drill and sticking to some structure. This is the kind of thing that you definitely want to experiment with and mess around with. But if you're not very good at it at the beginning, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you shouldn't do. It means that it's something that you should learn to get better at, because I think it's a really good skill. The better you can pivot through the golf ball, theoretically, the less you have to use your hands. And the less that you're using your hands on a game like golf, which is already heavily reliant on timing and sequence, I personally think the better for most amateur golfers. And most of the golfers that I'm generally working with, that's what I'm trying to get them to do. Learn how to pivot well, use the hands and arms less or as little as you have to. It's going to lend itself to more consistency. And this is a really useful drill to get you feeling that. See you guys again really soon.